Nick Brown is a pretty typical American when it comes to his diet.
Hey, how you doing?
He eats a variety of protein, vegetables, and grains. He enjoys beer now and then. And one of his favorite foods
Thanks, sir. Have a good day.
is pizza.
Looking forward to pizza. Maybe. If it ruins pizza for me, I'm going to be pissed off.
Nick is participating in a unique nutrition experiment along with Tracy
Yeah, I've got a plan for the week.
and Cynthia.
Thank you.
3 metabolically healthy people who take no medications, trying 2 different diets, low carb versus low fat.
Quite a few new recipes, so I was curious about using the right thing.
Up on the small.
Before, during, and after the experiment, they each weigh in, check their blood pressure, blood sugar, and cholesterol.
A little bit of alcohol or
Throughout the experiment, we'll track their blood sugar
Are you ready? Sure. Okay, here comes.
using a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM.
Didn't bother you?
Nope.
Okay.
You just hit check glucose, and it says ready to scan, and you just take it here, and there it is. It's 94 right now.
The first week, we put them on a low-carb ketogenic diet with less than 20 grams of carbohydrates per day, plenty of healthy fats, and a moderate amount of protein. A diet designed to keep blood sugars low, but an eating pattern that is not allowed by the U.S. dietary guidelines. The second week, we switched them to a USDA MyPlate meal plan. It's a 2,000 calorie a day, government-endorsed, low-fat plan featuring whole grains, lean meats, and vegetable oils, and more than half the day's calories as carbohydrates. Week 1 is the low-carb, high-fat diet.
And then we'll keep this going. This is almost ready. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to try the recipes and excited to see just what a full week of doing this does.
I'm grateful to be doing it. It's very fascinating to me.
The keto recipes are full of healthy natural fats like eggs, butter, avocado, olive oil, and nuts and seeds, and even grass-fed beef.
I love new recipes, so this is really good, interesting.
So these are buttered eggs, and that's what they're called in the recipe. You actually make them with butter. I use the grass-fed butter. And then I decided to add a little bit of avocado and some tomatoes and salt and pepper, and that's it. Super simple, super easy.
I am making a keto zucchini boats. You take out the middle of the zucchini, cook it up with some onion, spinach. I put in some olive oil, and then just let that saute for a little bit.
I think it's working for my body. I'm curious to see what it does through the whole week.
Those are really good.
By adding healthy fats into every meal and cutting out processed carbs, the 3 experience a sense of fullness that lasts.
To be honest, I've really not been famished.
So this is day 3 of the strict keto diet. I am literally down 3.5 pounds from when this started. I'm surprised by that. I feel great. I went mountain biking last night and had a lot of energy, and I don't feel hungry.
I still feel full, and that was after 3.5 hours. And usually at that time, yeah, after 2.5 hours, I'm hungry usually.
One way to think of carbs is they are like kindling on a fire. They burn quickly and then go out, dropping your blood sugar and creating severe cravings. The physical signal that your body needs more fuel. To keep your metabolism burning, you must constantly eat more, and then you crash, and then you eat more, and then you crash. See how carbs like bread, pasta, rice, and yes, even whole grains affect your blood sugar. Protein has a much lower response. It will raise blood sugar a small amount, and fat, take a look at fat, almost no rise in blood sugar at all. When you eat fat, it's like putting logs on the fire. What you get is just a long, steady source of fuel.
And that's one of the reasons that I like low-carb diets so much, because they don't require as much willpower. Because if your hormones, your insulin isn't going up to the sky every time that you eat, and then crashing down, making you crave a bagel or a donut or something from the sky, if that's not happening in your physiology all the time, it's much easier to not overeat.
Day 6, lunchtime, leftover Italian cabbage stir fry with a blob of sour cream. I'm still not quite hungry, but it's time for lunch.
You know, what's really great about this is it's so easy to test your glucose.
The sender is here, and then on my phone I go on the app that connects to it,
And you just put it up and it grabs it.
and in my doobip, and then you have it.
Pretty cool.
It's really cool.
All week on the low-carb, high-fat diet, their blood sugars are virtual straight lines with no spikes or dips.
It's been steady. It's been typically at the 85 to 90 range. And I just ate, and that's 83. I just tried it a few minutes ago, and it's already gone down 6 points.
I kind of want to just keep it all the time because it's so interesting to see what you're doing all day.
By the end of the week, all 3 participants have lost weight and feel great.
How's your week go?
Very well, thanks.
Good.
You have lost about 2.5 pounds of fat.
And how are your blood sugars?
Very, very even.
And look, your lean tissue, not only has it not gone down, it's actually gone up a little bit.
Boy, really even.
Yeah.
Wow, not a lot of variation at all.
I had always a full feeling, so I'm wondering if I ate too much, maybe, I don't know.
Well, you'll feel a lot more full with fat and protein and less carbohydrate for sure.
Next week, we'll flip from low-carb to low-fat and follow the U.S. dietary guidelines.
I'm really curious to see what happens. I'm a little scared about what's going to happen.
It's week 2 of our nutrition experiment. This time, it's the low-fat diet.
So today's breakfast was oatmeal with raisins and brown sugar.
We're following a USDA MyPlate 2,000 calorie a day meal plan downloaded from the USDA website.
Do you have a leaner ham?
It calls for low-fat meats, non-fat dairy, including non-fat sugar-sweetened chocolate milk, and plenty of carbohydrates, things like lasagna, bread, and even pizza.
This looks like stuff you take to a college dorm or something, right?
This is what our government says we should eat.
We have some shredded wheat here. And then half a cup of sliced banana. And half a cup of fat-free milk. Oh, then a toast. And 1 cup of chocolate milk, fat-free.
This breakfast alone contains 150 grams of carbohydrates and 50 grams of sugar.
2 teaspoons of jelly.
Instead of eating bacon and eggs in the morning, which keeps you full until like well past lunch, for example, now you're eating a couple of slices of bread and jam. And of course, by the time you metabolize it, sugar goes way up and then it goes way down. At 10:30, you're looking for a low-fat muffin.
Day 1 of the new diet has begun, and I have to admit I'm not liking it. Hungry all day.
So instead of eating sort of 3 meals a day, which is standard since, you know, in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, now all of a sudden people are getting hungry, like ravenous at 10:30, and they're saying, oh yeah, I need to eat 6 times a day.
Today I was hungry again, so I needed the snack, and I also got really tired after the meal.
So not only are you eating foods that stimulate a lot of insulin, you're doing it constantly, 6 times a day versus 3 times a day. It's like, well, what's going to happen?
Lunch was a ham sandwich with some mayo, some grapes, the milk, and my chart. I went off the chart. I went over 200, and it just kept going up and up and up and up and up and up and up, and then it hit over 200, 206 I think was it. Then it started coming down. That was crazy to me, and it was almost a little scary.
It's a recipe for diabetes. How long is it going to be before everybody becomes diabetic? Because that's the outcome of that advice.
I never even got that close to that last week, not even close. So it's going to be an interesting week, and gosh, I hope I last all week. Not kidding.
Hi, this is Cynthia, 5th day on the low-fat diet. It is barely 12, but I'm hungry, so I'm digging in my lunch. I'm hungry again, so I will dig into my daily snack. Last week I barely was hungry at 2, and now I'm very hungry, so I will eat.
I was hungry the entire time. I would eat. That would feel good for about 30, 40 minutes, and then I would start just feeling hungry.
I definitely like last week.
When you compare the flat and steady blood sugars from the high-fat week to the roller coaster readings from this low-fat week, it's hard to believe that our government thinks this is good for us.
The USDA put together a guideline that seems to me was really to market the food that America makes. It wasn't based on health.
The dietary guidelines are not guidelines. The dietary guidelines are guidance. They're guidance for the food industry to be able to sell food. They have nothing to do with health. And the fact that the USDA is in charge of our health is already a problem.
The USDA, when it was founded, had two mandates, not one, two. Mandate number one was to provide information to the American public about healthy eating. Mandate number two was to support, encourage, and grow the American agricultural industry. Those two mandates are not always congruent with one another. Because if you were really being honest with the American people, you would say wheat, corn, sugar, and soy are not health foods. And if you're congruent with the other mandate of the USDA, which is to support and encourage and grow American agriculture, you ain't telling people to not eat 4 of the 5 biggest crops that are made in America. So that's the contradiction, and that's why I don't think you're going to see much change in dietary recommendations.
So Nick, tell me about your experiences these past 2 weeks.
So it's been really, really interesting.
Yeah, so it was interesting.
Wow, it was really interesting.
The low carb, high fat, I had a really good experience with.
I loved all the food, and I found it very easy.
I like the high fat a little better because I felt more energetic.
The following week on the low fat, high carb, I was bonking. I'd just be tired. Maybe hangry is probably the best word.
Insulin is a big driver of carbohydrate craving and hunger. That hangry feeling that you mentioned is often when someone's insulin levels are high but their blood sugar is low. It's that insulin roller coaster we talk about, that you eat carbs, your insulin levels go up.
And I was, I got foggy during the high carb week.
A little groggy.
I was even just like saying things backwards, and yeah, I noticed that I wasn't clicking like I normally do.
I'd love to see your graphs at some time too, like kind of see the whole progression of them. Do you have them with you?
Yeah, sure. Let me see here.
Just look at the difference between the two diets. Every one of our participants experienced similar reactions to the low carb versus low fat diets.
Wow, what a difference between the 2
huge.
weeks. Yeah.
From the first week, I was almost a flat line.
Yeah.
I was averaging 84.
Much more stable.
It was fascinating.
Yeah, it was
really,
interesting.
really interesting being part of this.
I'm really excited about this, changing my life on this.
It's cool to see.